This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but we're the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on your favorite social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, now with 3 locations to serve you. And now, without any further ado, here's your host, the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. All right, Cliff, I don't have 3 locations, just 2. But that's okay. You are literally visualizing the future. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
To Halloween, the energy.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, we have a couple really exciting, amazing, interesting guests for you, but I think we all need to take a nice deep breath, okay? So let's breathe in through our nose for about 4 seconds and then exhale through our nose for 4. So everyone, all right, Dave, Mary, you guys ready? So deep breath in through the nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't that feel better, guys?
Yeah.
All right, so I have with me my 2 friends, okay, that came into the store and just kind of changed my world. We are talking about, like, they light up a room, they have such great energy, always full of joy and gratitude, and just, they're just incredible. So with me, I have Mary and Dr. Dave Disano, and they have such incredible stories. So I am actually going to read it because there's so much to say, okay? Because, sometimes my brain can't remember all this. Okay, so here we go. They are authors of Divinely Touched, Transform Your Life, and it's a true life story of Mary's healing journey through the medical, new age, and metaphysical worlds. They have toured internationally. They have been on national radio and TV shows and featured speakers at holistic expos. Mary has degrees in medical technology and healing techniques of reflexology, Reiki, and reconnective healing. She is a metaphysical practitioner, energy healer, and motivational speaker. Her healings have been described as miraculous. And Dave Disano, PhD, is a psychologist, certified hypnotherapist, and also the author of Holistic Mental Health Revised. And that compares alternative therapies to traditional medications for mental disorders, which I know right now a lot of you are confused about that world. So hopefully at the end of this hour, you can really understand it better. And then we also have the book here, which I love this cover, guys. Oh my gosh, Divinely Touched, Transform Your Life. And this so represents you, Mary. Oh my God, I love this. So Divinely Touched is a true story of personal transformation. It chronicles Mary's spiritual awakening, of how she was divinely saved, led, and transformed, of how she survived being taken to the underworld, depths of depression, entity possession, and battles with physical ailments that our medical profession had no explanations for, of how she was led into worlds she had never knew existed, of how she was guided and healed by light workers, shamans, and avatars from this world and the spirit dimension, of how she was led on a journey of personal, physical, mental, and spiritual healing. Dr. Dave uses science and historical data to explain what Mary experienced and was in fact real. He connects science, religion, spirituality, and metaphysics to prove the spirit dimension is real and answers questions on life like, why are we here, and what happens when you die? Wow, guys, that's pretty intense right there. Some of my listeners are like, wait, what? We're not talking about vitamin A? Yes. So guys, you definitely want to really sit down and kind of really get into this conversation with us. I think I'm going to learn a lot this morning, and I hope you guys can take something away from it as well. So can Dave, do you go by Dave or Dr. Dave?
Whatever you like.
Because I've always called you Dave. Okay, all right. So, and that's what I mean. If you guys can see this live later, it's like They're such a cool couple. Oh my God. And we're all wearing blue today. We're all matching. It's incredible. So, can you tell me, Dr. Dave, about your book and what it kind of represents?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Joanne, for having us on your show. And speaking of transforming lives, we absolutely love all that Joanne does. And going into her store, maybe a year ago, she certainly helps transform lives, and we love everything she does and all her therapies and nutrition. And
Aw,
again, she's helped transform our lives in a lot
thank
of different
you.
ways.
Thank you.
So
Thank
again,
you.
thank you for having us on your show.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my journey actually, I started out in science education. I was a biology and biochemistry teacher in high school, but I also had a love for psychology, and I got advanced degrees in school psychology and became a school psychologist. My PhD dissertation was comparing traditional medications to alternative therapies for mental disorders, which turned into my first book, as Joanne mentioned, Holistic Mental Health. And in that book, it describes just that, how different therapies you can take instead of drugs, which I know that's something you're a really big fan of.
Absolutely.
What we, for example, like I make all sorts of recommendations on alternatives, but I also go into all the clinical studies behind the alternatives in telling you exactly what to take.
Oh, great. That's great. Oh my gosh. And so, holistic mental health, I think right now, if you can take one line out of the show right away, is look into this book because right now, mental health, right? If we don't have mental health, how do we look at life, with full of eyes of joy and gratitude and positivity? So, right. So, I see that science end that I understand really well, but Mary, your world, it sounds like
Out
you've
of this
been
world.
through, yeah, you've been through a little bit, huh? A
Just a
lot.
little.
And I know that in our sessions, we've talked about it, and it's so amazing. And you've worked with friends of mine, and they do use the word miraculous. So I do love that I met you. So of course the universe put us together. So love it, love it. So I think we planned this right before Halloween, right? Because
Right.
sometimes people, when it comes to Halloween, they'll think a little bit outside the box. So I hope you guys can listen to Mary's story with an open mind and really in the 40 years I've been doing this is not just Mary's story. Like this is like Dave says, there is so much known to it. You just have to kind of open your mind to just hear the words and just see how it resonates with you. So let's talk about the details of what is entity possession, because if they caught on those two words, they're going to be like, what? Yeah. So what is that?
Well, entity possession is when you have a negative spirit that is attached to you. And most people aren't aware of it, but some of the signs of if you do have it is if you do things out of the ordinary that you normally wouldn't say or do. You have extreme anxiety or depression. You have addictions such as alcohol. Like I'm talking about extremes: alcohol, drugs, sex. If you're seeing spirits, I mean, when I was going through this, I'd look in the mirror and I'd see someone else looking back at me. It wouldn't even be my face. So when you have, these are all signs or symptoms of something's going on. But what really woke me up to it was being brought into this world. I started seeing spirits, hearing voices, and of course doctors thought I was psychotic. And also I started getting very, very sick. I was very depressed, very sick, and doctors could find no cause for it. I mean, I went through all different tests, every test you could think of, MRIs, CAT scans, EKGs, blood tests, you name it, I did, and everything came back perfectly normal. But they could see how sick I was.
Wow.
And this started me on my healing journey. When doctors couldn't find out the answer, then it opened my world to this other alternative world of shamans and
I get that. So, and I'm thinking now that's where Dr. Dave, your husband, maybe like his book, Holistic Mental Health, right? So, so how did you like come into the picture? Like, how long have you guys been together?
Actually, what, 18 years
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
18
Oh,
18
18
years.
years.
Yes.
Nice.
Time flies.
It does. It does.
Um, so the question is, how did I get into the picture?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, uh, after I had written Holistic Mental Health, I started a hypnotherapy practice, kind of a part-time thing because I was still working as a school psychologist. And Mary came to visit me for different reasons, obviously. And one thing led to another. And a little while later, after she had gone through all this traumatic experiences, that brought her into the underworld and entity possession the first time, she came out and started going on a healing journey. And that's why she actually came to my office. So I started helping her with her mental healing journey. Sorry, being Italian, sometimes I use my hands.
Using our hands.
And that journey kind of brought me into the picture. And I started helping her using my science background to actually investigate everything that was going on. And when she started going to shamans and started feeling better after going to shamans, you know, I did research to make sure that the shamans weren't shamming her. And
I love that. Oh my God, I love that.
and I come to find out a lot about energy healing going back, you know, thousands and thousands of years. So my journey kind of supplemented what Mary was going through and answered a lot of the questions. In our book, Divinely Touched, it goes through everything that Mary experienced in probably about a 5-year journey, healing journey, going all over the country, meeting shamans and psychics and light workers, trying to heal her. Because again, as she said, doctors couldn't find anything wrong with her. All her tests came back perfectly normal, but she was very, very sick.
And also, when I was so sick like that, all my, times that I was getting tested and the doctors had me on certain drugs and all, nothing. In fact, I was getting worse. It didn't help. But after my first healing, energy healing, instantly my symptoms came down. My skin was all red and inflamed. It was almost perfectly naturally after the first healing. My stomach was extended, looked like I was 7 months pregnant. And it went down to 3 inches just from clearing the energy from me, because which is our proof that everything is energy. We're so much in our physical bodies, but we're not. We're an energy field and a vibration and frequency. And when I was going through this and I was so depressed and everything, well, like now we know with the law of attraction, of course I didn't know it back then, which a lot of people didn't, that when I'm vibrating so low, we're one with everything in the universe. What am I attracting? Lower vibrations coming towards me, amplifying all my symptoms even more. And that's why energy clearings helped me, because we are energy. We are not a drug. We're not a chemical.
Correct. Yeah,
So-
absolutely agree.
That was the start of it, that, wow, this stuff works. Nothing else worked. And here, energy clearings worked.
All right, let me backtrack just a little bit, guys, okay? So, Mary, so you didn't have a background in any of this,
Oh my
right?
God,
Like,
nothing. I grew
nothing about
up-
metaphysical or
nothing.
spiritual
I was
awakenings?
I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I do it too.
Both my guests really
Are
love
Italian.
using their hands and pounding the counter. All right, so unless you want our listeners to hear boom, boom, boom the whole show, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
girl.
I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school my whole life, from first grade through 12th grade. I had very traditional thinking, right after, back then, right after high school, a year later I got married, and working. This is life as most of us knew it back then.
Absolutely.
Go to work, come home, cook, clean. This is your life. But what I've learned through much pain and suffering is that, there's a whole of the world going on that most can't perceive of or see within this world that we think is so real.
Absolutely. So tell me, like, how did you know to seek help from that world? Like, how did you go from the medical world to knowing to look into the metaphysical world?
Well, when this happened to me, before this happened to me, I was in a store because, of course, I always liked angels and saints and very close to Jesus, and so I was in. It was called Herbs and Angels. So I was just shopping in the
Oh,
store.
I love that name.
Yeah,
Herbs and Angels. Yeah.
and one time, and I noticed they, was unbeknownst to me at the time, they did energy healings and all this clearing, which I wasn't into at the time because I worked in corporate America. I was in accounting, a supervisor of accounting. So all this was a world that I was not into, but I was into the statues and the blessings. And so when I got very sick, when I came out of the hospital, and then I hooked up with Dave. Well,
oh, I like that. That's such a New England world. Yeah, I hooked up. Yeah, I know that word. Yeah.
Then it happened to me again. See, I thought it was a one-time experience. Maybe I was a little nuts or something. I was very depressed, but then it happened to me again, and I'm like, I told Dave, I go, this is happening again. So then he goes, what about that store you went to? Herbs and Angels, you told me about.
Well, I got to ask him this part of the story. So you tell me from your side, Dave. So she's coming at you now. You have all this amazing school experience in the science world. So what do this girl that you really like, she says this stuff. What do you really think in your brain? Tell me the truth. What do you say?
Well, again, it's part of her journey. We went to all these doctors, and every doctor imaginable, and they couldn't find anything wrong with her for her physical symptoms. So the alternative was, and again, I have a little bit of a spiritual background as well, and obviously interested in psychology. So, I'm open to other things other than purely scientific remedies for illnesses. So, again, we were seeking, how can we help her? How can we cure this? And of course, that's, I remembered that Herbs and Angels had these healers there, shamans and energy healers. So I recommended to Mary, let's check that out. Because again, the medical community offered no help at the time.
But is there actual evidence that the people that Mary was seeking, like I know of shamans, I've never had a session with a shaman, but now a lot of my clients are using shamans. Like, is there evidence that they actually can do something?
Great question, Joanne. Yes, and again, once she started feeling better going to these shamans, I started doing research on exactly what is energy healing. And come to find out, it goes far back as recorded history. I mean, we look at tribal witch doctors doing healings on people. We look at shamans going back as far as recorded time. King Solomon's mother was actually an exorcist, because back then they believed a lot of demons and possessions caused physical as well as mental illness. Solomon was, again, King Solomon's mother was an exorcist. Buddha was known as being able to do exorcism rituals. 1/4 of Jesus's healings were casting out demons. So if you look at the history behind this, right up until the 18th century, clergy used to accompany doctors to promote healings, both mental and physical healings. So, and then obviously science and medical science and medication started taking hold, certainly into the 1900s. But there's a strong history about casting out these negative spirits and entities to promote healing.
Well, I have to be a little sarcastic now. And how our state of our world is now is just so full of these medications, but they're not helping anyone. It's like,
Exactly.
So if you can just really approach this subject, but I know a lot of my listeners, Mary, are like listening to these words like Reiki, acupressure, like and healing of any sorts. I don't know if they understand it. Can you help explain some of the approaches that you took and like what it really means?
Sure. Well, once I started feeling better, and then I was told that I was a healer, because You know, I never believed that, but that was part of the reason that I was being attacked also, because they knew my destiny was to be with Dr. Dave, and we were going to get married and write a book and do seminars, and I was going to become a healer. See, we don't know our future, but the other world does, and we're one with it. So then I started studying different modalities, you know, like reflexology, and I did some shamanism, and then I started Reiki, and then I ended up with reconnective energy healing.
I love that.
Yes, and they're all great modalities because we are energy. And like I said, a drug is never going to cure you. Before, you know, the modern days, how did we live all these, you know, millions of years without drugs? We healed with nature. Nature cures nature, and we're nature. So when I started doing the healings, one led to another, and the last one I ended up with was reconnective energy healing, which is very, very powerful. It's associated with the Ascended Master's energy.
Back up a little bit because, so say that one sentence one more time. It's associated
with the Ascended Master's energy.
Can you explain that, please?
That means it's associated with the masters such as Jesus, Saint Germain, where the healing is instant and lasting. It's not like therapy. You have to come back every month and get a reboot and recharge. I mean, I don't have recurring clients. I see clients maybe 1 to 3 times the most, and that's it. Their life transforms and takes off. What's meant to be, you know, and anyone who does it cannot do it more than 3 times because it's done. Go and be well. That's it. It shifts your DNA to a higher frequency where the lower frequencies from this planet and the others cannot come and attach to you anymore and bring you down. Instead, it excels you to your higher self and what you're really here for with the right people, and it sheds the wrong ones out, and then your whole life transforms.
Okay, that sounds absolutely like,
and it's
I want to I literally want to cry right now because it sounds so authentic. It sounds so, we are not meant to suffer. We are not meant to be on this planet for suffering. And so I love that. You know, it's not like you have to come back every week for an hour and just keep talking about all your junk and and wow. And now I'm thinking about you, Dr. Dave. That's kind of like when you studied, right? That was what psychology was about. Just come in, sit in a chair. I'll take notes and
Forever. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So
and
go ahead.
I mean,
honey.
I've been doing this for 15 years, and it is truly miraculous. The life transformations, I could tell you so many stories, but what it basically is, it's hands off. I don't even touch you. People don't like to be touched. You know, you just lay on the table for an hour, and what's meant to happen happens. It's sacred geometry I'm doing around you, reconnecting you to your perfect divine blueprint of your higher self and clearing the lower out from this life and past lives. And what people have experienced during it, and to me, sometimes it's like a magic show. I've seen people levitate.
Wow.
People,
that is so, I've seen
They've
videos, but
yes.
I've never seen it in person.
I've seen it, and it's like a magic. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And people feel extreme euphoria. Some people get messages. Some people see visions. Some people astral travel. But what's most importantly is what happens. Some people see colors. Is that most people receive an instantaneous miraculous healing one way or the other, be it physically, mentally, spiritually. It's like they come off the table feeling like totally, totally different.
Right. Even though these words just ripple out of your mouth, Mary, a lot of my listeners might be like, wow, did she just say that some of her clients can levitate? So let's take a break, Cliff. Let's take a quick break, and we will be right back. And remember, our grand opening at the Port St. Lucie location is this Saturday, 11 to 3 on the corner of Cameo and Port St. Lucie Boulevard. So come on in and check it out.
Joanne's Nutrition World now has 2 locations to serve you. One in Fort Pierce's Crass Center, and now in Port St. Lucie in the Cocoa Vista Center. Cameo and Port St. Lucie Boulevard. It's time to get healthy together at Joanne's Nutrition World. As Joanne tells you every Wednesday here on WPSL, her goal is to transform lives one person at a time. Joanne's Nutrition World. Feel free to call or text her at 772-380-6467. That's 380-6467. There are tremendous discounts on supplements, which you can check on the website, joannesnutritionworld.com. Open 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday. Port St. Lucie's Nutrition World. Cocoa Vista Center at Cameo and Port St. Lucie Boulevard next to the Asian Market. Joanne's Nutrition World, now with 2 locations.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And now we return to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Once again, here is your elevated host, the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Well, thank you very much, sir. So thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. I have 2 incredible guests. I'm sure you're on the edge of your seat like, wow, this is so cool. I am. And we have Dr. Dave and Mary Disano. And we are talking about things that maybe you've never heard about before, or maybe you're totally into it and you're like, wow, this is so cool. So in my coaching practice, I use the quantum field, I use energy medicine, and I definitely 110% believe in what we're discussing today. I've seen firsthand, like Mary described. I haven't seen the levitation, hopefully soon, but I definitely have seen people just have an energy shift and their whole life can change. So definitely, again, open heart, open mind. Let's keep exploring this. So Dr. Dave, so all the things that like Mary's saying, like I know I love studying about the placebo effect and how science can really back up all these things. Can you explain more about that?
Certainly. And as your listeners, I'm sure they know, the placebo effect is when you expect certain results psychologically, and those results happen. Whenever a new medication comes on the market, they also all have to take into account the placebo effect, because often they'll have a sugar pill with the real medication. And then the people taking a sugar pill actually derive some benefits from thinking that they're taking the medication. So that's pretty much the placebo effect. Now, again, when Mary started getting healings and started getting better through energy healings, I started doing some research into that. Is there any research on the placebo effect in energy healing? Because, and fortunately there is, and we document that in our book as well. But back in the 1960s, when Reiki started becoming more popular, and things like therapeutic touch as well, which are kind of energy fields and using hands-off techniques. There's a couple of studies, actually a number of studies out of Canada that used the placebo effect, and they actually took the human element out of it altogether. They used studies with mice. And in these controlled studies, they took little patches of skin off of the backs of mice. And this comes out of the University of Montreal and McGill University as well in Canada. And they found that in the studies, they had a group of mice that were naturally healed on their own, and they measured the healing without any interventions. Then they had people that had no experience in healings work on these mice, and then energy healers work on these mice. And in every case, and we're talking about studies with hundreds of mice, who, again, have no idea what's going on. That's why it's a great study. And in every case, the mice that were healed with energy healers showed markedly improved healing over the other two controlled samples. So again, that shows you that, in fact, that these energies are real. When Mary uses her hands and uses these energy fields around people, she's calling in these energies that can heal people mentally and physically.
Wow, that is such a great study example. I have read many studies, especially about the placebo effect, but that's incredible. Yes, I mean, I've seen so many videos. Once you go down that rabbit hole of watching the videos, and these, incredible moments. And I definitely want to say, you mentioned something, Mary, when you first started talking about the negative entity. I know a lot of my listeners and myself, we think of just what we know in movies, and it's just really especially Halloween right now, everyone's watching horror movies and stuff. Can you tell me what a negative entity is? I really don't think I understand.
A negative entity is just a lower vibrational frequency being. Sometimes they get lost, somehow when they pass over, they don't go to the light and they're lost and they're vibrating low. So what they're looking for is how they feed is that they match themselves with a living being that has the same, say, addictions or same drama that they went through in their life, because that's how it's like they want a host to feed off to make themselves feel alive and good again. So if they were like, alcoholics or drug users, they will find a living drug user, alcoholic, and feed off of that to keep their energy going because they haven't transferred over to the light. And, a lot of these are fear-based because they're afraid of the light. So they're living in fear. So that's why a lot of people who have anxiety or depression are in fear, because this entity is feeding off them of fear. And that's how that's all that they know. It's not right or wrong. It's just that's all that they know.
I can totally relate to this, Mary, because, a lot of people, right? I'm sure, Dave, you understand, like, you definitely get this, right? A lot of us might not say the words out loud to our friends, our family, our therapists. Like, they would be scared to use those words. I think I have something inside me that's controlling me, or, but how many mornings, and so many of my clients feel that way. They say it, but they don't use the word negative entity. They just say, something's inside that I don't feel myself. I feel wrong. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin anymore, and
those are signs, and they don't feel comfortable with it yet because this isn't commonplace yet. Like everything is no until it's the norm. And that's what we're trying to break this through, that this is the norm. Like I tell people, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's like, you've tried the drugs, you've tried everything. Why not try an energy clearing session? It's a half hour of your time. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it can transform your life because you are energy.
Yeah, why not try if you're suffering, right? Because
Right.
the meds aren't getting you anywhere other than horrible side effects.
Exactly.
So you mentioned a couple symptoms. You were saying like your distension, bloating,
Yes.
the redness. What are the symptoms when you?
I had cankers all over my mouth, and no canker sore thing could heal me. Until I was divinely guided to go to this white light bookstore. It's in Rhode Island. And I walked in, I had to go in the store. I never even read books at the time back then. I was not into any of this, but I just knew I had to go. I went in the store and they had on the shelf this thing called Canker Be Gone. Why would they have that?
I know that product.
Because they know it's because it's only a spiritual canker be gone can heal, because it's spiritual stuff. All the canker be gones, the doctors never touched it.
Right.
So there was another sign. It's like I had the cankers, I had the bloating. Like I said, I could see spirits, I could hear voices, I could see other things looking back at me in the mirror. Different things would go on in my house. The light switches would go up and down. I would look at the TV, I would think something, the TV would print out the answer to me. I mean, this is all in our book. It's like amazing, like
pains.
supernatural stuff that was going on.
Shooting pains in your
Shooting
throat.
pain in my, like I was being stabbed.
Okay, guys, I'm having like a really strong moment right now. So all my listeners, hopefully the ones that have been with years, have heard my story, how I got turned into health numerous times. And if anyone can recall what you just described, Mary, is identical to mine.
Really?
I was about 14. I started getting cysts all over my face. I was getting cankers. My distension was so bad, I had to miss school every single day. My mom worked at the hospital, and everyone knows this is true
Oh my
because I've told this
gosh.
story so many times, but I never, ever connected it until this moment, and now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Yeah, my
Had
mom
an
brought me to
attachment.
all the doctors, couldn't
Oh my
figure it out.
gosh.
And then it was my sister. I always told the story as my sister met a nutritionist, and he said to stop dairy and flour products. But what I really think happened, now that I'm thinking about it, my other sister had a hippie boyfriend that was into energy medicine. I didn't call it that back then, but he was a total hippie. He taught me how to meditate. He actually taught me how to play a flute.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like he harmonized me.
Yes, definitely.
And then I began this journey, and I never turned back since that moment. And wow, I just
Wow.
right,
That's
yeah, same
amazing.
thing. I had so much pain and
Yes,
distension.
yeah. I couldn't stand up straight. I used to
yes,
have to wrap my
yeah,
stomach every day with
me
castor
too.
oil and
I would
plaster
have
to
to
stand up straight.
lean against the counter
Yes.
just to relieve the pain.
Yep.
Wow.
I would sleep with a heating pad on every night
Yeah.
because I couldn't stand the pain.
Yeah, they told me
Nothing would
nothing was wrong
relieve
with
it.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
over and
same
over
thing.
and over
Oh
again.
my
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
Law of
See?
like attracts like. Like I say, we're all a vibration frequency. We
Oh my
match
God.
each
Woo.
other.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. All right. So
And see, look at what healed you. Not the drugs, but the meditation.
No, they
the
tried
flu,
everything.
The energy
Oh, yeah.
healing. That
Yep.
clears because we are energy. We're frequency.
and I was attracted to that, all that stuff from that moment on. Like I just
Woke
couldn't
you
get
up.
enough. And life has thrown me some real challenges, but if I always try to use that, I feel like I'm a survivor. Like I can
Yes.
get to the next level. Wow,
that's
incredible,
amazing. Oh my
incredible.
gosh,
So okay, so now you're saying, are we attacked? Because of I don't know, Dave. Let's tell me a little bit about your end of this. Why are entities hanging out with me and Mary?
Well, as Mary can tell you, and lots of psychics have told her across the country. And again, what is science? Science is based on replicated results. So when you go to a psychic or a card reader and they tell you some amazing things, well, that's all great and dandy. But when you have 10 psychics tell you the same thing, that starts becoming evidence of, real proof. And again, that's what happened with Mary. Every psychic and reader she went to, every shaman that she went to told her the same thing, why she was being attacked. And probably the same thing for you, Joanne, in your journey. You're being attacked because these negative entities don't want you on your spiritual journey of helping people. And Mary was attacked a lot because of what she does. The way she heals people, the book we wrote together that helps people through all these traumas in life, because it goes beyond medical science currently. But I can go into the history, and again, one thing our book goes in a lot of detail about the history behind all of this, the science behind all of this, and there's quite a bit, even over the last 100 years, about people healing people that were attacked by negative entities.
Wow. And, I know we kind of made a joke about doing this for Halloween, but you mentioned like exorcism and a lot of the movies, God, you got to remember the girl, rolling her head and throwing up,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So can you talk about that as
Yeah.
far as in the real world?
And I'm sure Mary can go on and on. Because a lot of these horror movies are based on true life stories. I mean, one movie we love goes back about 15, 20 years ago, The Others by Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
And in it, the story
Yes.
story
So much
is
she didn't understand.
Nicole Kidman and her two kids live in this great big house, and her kids are, light sensitive, so she always has the curtains drawn. But then all of a sudden, they're feeling all these strange things happening in their house, and they think that these evil spirits are coming into their house. But you don't realize until the very end that Nicole and her two kids are the deceased spirits in the house, and real people are coming into the house, opening windows and curtains and doing things. So again, a lot of these negative entities aren't negative per se by intent. They're just disembodied spirits that are drawn to negative energies, like people that are alcoholics or use drugs or are depressed. These spirits that are disembodied and don't know they're dead are drawn to those, and then they amplify these negative feelings. So that's one level of negative entities that, the common people that are feeling depressed and have this wave of anxiety or depression come over them, well, chances are that's this negative spirit being drawn to them. Then there's other levels. There's other levels that we've researched that are some of these things that are attacking Mary, or probably even yourself, Joanne, going back on the beginning of your journey, because again of what you are intending to be and help people in your life.
That's right. I want to talk in front of 10,000 people, so they're going to try to
But you
get
see,
me.
you didn't know it when you were young,
Yeah.
but they knew your destiny, and they were trying to stop it then.
All right.
Yeah.
God, you see movies like that. Like, let's kill that 3-month-old because, we know what he's going to do,
Right,
to save the
exactly.
world. All right. So, Mary, like, can you tell me, like, now all of the stuff Dave said, like, how do we protect ourselves, from all this stuff?
Okay. Well, first thing you should do is get rid of anything toxic in your life, be it, alcohol, drugs, people, anything that brings you or your frequency down. You need to do what's right for yourself. Eat right, all right? Do the right amount of exercise. Read only positive, uplifting, helpful books,
Turn
not
off the
horror
TV.
things, not fictional. The TV, no horror films. Only things that are going to uplift you in your soul. People do personal hygiene every day, right? But what's most important is as soon as you get up, you should do spiritual hygiene, right? Clear your field. Attitude of gratitude, live with intent, put your intentions out every day, because if you don't put yours out, you're going to live someone else's intentions, because everything matches everything. So you need to meditate in attitude of gratitude, because what you appreciate appreciates. Where if you're always down and being negative, well, then that's what's going to come back at you.
What are you attracting?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I definitely agree with the meditation. That is something that I have dedicated myself to, especially the last couple weeks. The morning is usually when my anxiety and my nervousness is at the highest. And so I never thought I could meditate because that's when I feel the most unsettled. But I've been just waking up 20 minutes early. I go on my patio. I do, even though I tell my listeners, you don't need incense, you don't need candles, but I have made it so ceremonial. Like, I have a little candle, I have my incense, I go out on the patio, I feel that breeze, I listen to the nature sound, 20 minutes. It has really helped. I come out of that without that feeling like something's making me shake. It's incredible. So any other suggestions, Dr. Dave, from you?
Well, again, being and having a background in psychology, it's amazing how I would say 95% of the population have no idea of what they think they get, what they think they manifest. Words do have power. And when people say, things like, well, every winter I get the flu, well, what are you attracting? And, again, most people have no idea of what they're attracting. So it's particularly when you're attracting these negative energies, you're going to get more of that.
Yep, absolutely. And I definitely know that you've mentioned alcohol and drugs. And I mean, that's why, like, I gave up my wine, and I just, now it's like an occasional whiskey, here and there, because it was definitely definitely felt like every time I drank, it's like I couldn't feel that joy, love, gratitude. Like I was like going to like some numbing world that, the darkness was taking over, all the worries, the stress, the fears, like this isn't going to work out, that won't work out, and that's not going to happen. And it's like, no, that's not who I am. I'm positive, I'm hopeful, I'm loving, I'm kind. So a lot of things try to trip us up there, right?
Yes, only do things to nurture yourself and bring yourself up, not things that would take you out of your consciousness and opens you up to anything coming at you.
Yep.
Because what
I
people
love that.
don't realize is that, the spirit dimension can affect your life positively or negatively. It's like, it can enhance all your symptoms, and that there's a whole other world going on that most people don't realize. But just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Everything exists and is possible.
Absolutely.
Like how many things that we didn't know about hundreds of years ago that we know now, we take it for granted. But hundreds of years ago, they would have thought you were crazy if you said this was the way it works. What did they think? The earth was flat, right? And if you said it was round, they thought you were nuts. Well, now we know it's everything is wrong until it's proven right in the future.
Absolutely.
Galileo got life in prison for inventing the telescope and determining that maybe the Earth is round.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
And it's part of a bigger circle in our, our solar system.
I know,
and
right?
universe.
Well, and that's what I mean. The more we can
Exactly.
see, whether through a lens or through our intuition, it's kind of like we're scared to sometimes speak our truth. We're scared to say, I see and feel things that no one else is talking about. And I know I had that shift too, where I would just sell people a bottle and I wouldn't ask them about their emotions. And then I started asking them and it was receptive. Like they were like, yes, you're right. I just went through a trauma 2 weeks ago. And I said, well, then it's not a physical issue. It's an emotional one. You were traumatized, and now we have to work through that. And then all of a sudden, the language started coming, and then it was like, wow, this is incredible, right?
Right.
But
It's the mind-body connection.
so
Definitely.
yeah, so tell us, so Mary, so with what would you tell our listeners as far as like what I always use the word lesson, but what have you learned from your journey? Like, what would be your takeaway?
Well, my takeaway and my passion now is to change people's mind about mental illness. Because I was in the hospital, and by the grace of God, I was saved. Because otherwise, I would be like a lot of these people that I saw in the hospital, in the psych ward, in and out of the hospital, on drugs the rest of my life, trying to be numbed by the doctors because they don't understand. Because a lot of people in the hospital that I told, they were seeing spirits and hearing voices too. And the doctors think they're psychotic. It's not. A lot of them are gifted souls that don't know how to ground themselves, just like I didn't back then. But thank God, led to the right people who guided me and made me understand what was going on with me. Or worse, or they kill themselves because you go nuts. In fact, a friend of mine, son, just did, because he kept hearing voices, couldn't take it anymore, and he killed himself just a few weeks ago. So my passion is to change people's mind that they're having, a lot of them, a spiritual awakening, or they're gifted and they don't know how to hold this energy, and to change their mind and get them the right modalities to heal and get their life even to a better frequency that they ever thought they could have.
Oh, I love that. That was such a great statement, Mary. I love that. Oh my God, I feel overwhelmed. All right. And Dr. Dave, what about you?
Well, through my association with Mary, and my science and psychology background, I've come to learn there's a very fine line between psychotic and psychic. And that's one of the things Mary was just talking about. A lot of the psychics that we've come across over the years, they were put on drugs when they were teenagers or children, because the medical community thought because they were hearing voices, they were crazy. But again, they were grounded and later in life and realized they were psychic.
Well, we have a good example of how you dumb down words that are more acceptable socially. Instead of using the word psychic, I've pointed out that, birds have instincts and know which way to go when it's wintertime, when they fly south of the winter and finding their way back the next year. That if we simply call it instincts and kind of keep an eye on our instincts.
I like
then
that.
Yeah,
we
I
can
love
like
that.
watch out for
Yeah.
good stuff,
Yes.
watch out
Yeah.
for bad stuff.
It's true.
Yeah, I always thought of the word intuition, because I've always grew up with, now that I'm in this world, intuitive healers. I've always hear that word a lot, like intuitive. So I think you're finally just waking up to listen to yourself.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and the higher energies. And I love that you always say that, like, low energy, like even my sound bed, it works on elevating all the energies and to basically just evaporate the low energies, the ones that make us feel so out of sorts, and in any way, at your work, at your job, as you're taking a walk down the block, right? I mean, I don't know anyone, whether everyone can admit it or not, that hasn't had this moment, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
I mean, who really, like, that just kind of question, I don't feel like me today. Like, I mean, right? It's just, but it is Halloween tomorrow. So you have such strong feelings about horror films. So can you just really kind of, because a lot of people tonight might be like, even with their family, putting them on. A lot of people that have, the older might be drinking or, gosh, maybe using drugs. Can you kind of like put some awareness out there about, Halloween and why not to do that?
Because horror films are just what they are. They're horrific. And let me tell you, if you ever had a real life horror story, that's the last thing you'd ever want to see, because you think it's a joke. It's not. Everything is real in this universe, and what you're focusing on, you are attracting. And once you attract that into your life and you think it's a joke and it's like, oh, it's all fun and games, it comes and matches you. It's like your life's gonna be a living hell. You think it's fun and games, but it's not. It's because everything is what you focus on. It's the law of attraction. And as you're attracting that and they're seeing you like this, well, that's what you're gonna get more of. And that's why it's terrible. They should be banned. Horror films should be banned. It's a very low frequency. It's what's caused so much chaos in this world, because the collective consciousness loves horror. They love fear. They love it. So what is our world filled with? War and fear and hate and revenge, right? Because this is what is the most collective consciousness looking at? Films like this. Killing films, horror films, right? Revengeful films. This is what we feed off of.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole revenge plot, that's incredible. Well, I don't want to be rushed with my, thankfulness for you two being on. I usually let my words go to Cliff's like, cutting me off. But now I really want to, from my heart to both of yours, this was probably the most amazing show I ever had, as far as me having a moment. Really just, my body just felt tingles all over. So thank you for putting yourselves out there. Thank you for taking the chance in the world to speak your truths. And really, I hope when the listeners heard it, they were receptive and could take away. And again, we have 2 books that I assume they're on Amazon.
Yep.
Okay.
KDP, Amazon KDP, because we revised and edited them last couple of years, updated them.
All right, so Holistic Mental Health Revised, 2nd edition, and Divinely Touched, Transform Your Life, and you can't, really great. And it so represents like you and Mary. It's like, the Holistic Mental Health is a very straight, streamlined, book, and
yeah.
Divinely Touched is just totally Mary. If you guys can meet Mary, so maybe, set up a session. How do they contact you guys if they want a session?
Our website is divinelytouch.com.
Okay,
Please,
divinelytouch.com.
Which
Okay.
has all the information about what Mary and I do and where to get our books and her sessions.
All right, awesome. All right, guys, come check out the open house this Saturday, Port St. Lucie, and you guys will be there, right?
be there.
You'll be
Looking
hanging out
forward
with
to
me.
it, yeah.
Oh, yes, more energy the better. Good energy. All right, thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Happy trails on your road to ascension.
Oh,
Woo! I love it. Good job, Cliff. Yes.
Until we meet again, you've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by both locations of Joanne's Nutrition World on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and webcaster to the world on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone. It's 11 o'clock.